Hi, my name's Phil. I'd like to talk about politics. So Donald Trump is expected to meet Xi Jinping in South Korea tomorrow for talks to finalise a trade deal of some sort, which Trump will describe as the greatest thing since the last greatest thing he did, but will probably be just another exercise in having his pants pulled down. But assuming the meeting even goes ahead, because you never know with Trump, what might be announced as the key which unlocks the deal, and what are the big tests of whether Trump actually won anything at all? But first, for daily news and politics, please click the subscribe button to stay notified. So let's just remind ourselves what America has lost thanks to Trump's hand-fisted trade deal so far. Not only are tariffs on US exports to China higher, but many of their agricultural exports are essentially zero. US beef exports to China from $2 billion a year to zero. Soybeans, way worse. That was nearly $13 billion last year. Since Trump's trade war in spring, zero. In fact, I saw an interesting little stat. Since 2018, when Trump was in power the first time, his tariffs destroyed $27 billion worth of US agricultural exports alone due to the retaliatory tariffs. The expectation is that when the figures are in for this year, it could be mighty impressive. Not that it's impressing US farmers. So the first thing to say is that if Trump announces a deal with China and those agricultural exports don't resume, then whatever he has gained, US farmers will have lost. After all, it's not like they had other markets to really compensate with. So according to experts, China will end up buying American soybeans at least. I mean, China wants them, so no great concession from them. But Trump absolutely needs it. There's no way he can agree to anything if that doesn't resume. The question will be, will those exports get back up to previous levels? And what did Trump give away in return? Mind you, it would still be a loss, wouldn't it? They've suffered half a year of massively reduced sales. And by massively reduced, I mean zero when it comes to selling to China. And some farmers have already gone bankrupt. So it's too late to save them at all. So even if those exports resume and at the same rate as before, it's still a net loss to those Trump voting farmers. Some of those farmers have already lost their business. Others have lost a lot of money. What will the survivors gain? Anything? I'd be surprised. I don't think they're going to consider American TikTok to be a worthy prize. Or maybe they will. Maybe they will. I have to stop thinking that these farmers have got any brains. Trump screwed them over in his first term. Why would they think it would be different in his second? So Trump's Treasury Secretary as well, Scott Bessent, had been saying that the US and China deal had been there's a broad framework for a deal there, and that he believed the threat of export controls had also been removed. Now, this almost sounds like normal politics. The broad framework of a trade deal is always agreed before the political leaders meet. This is because heads of government do not negotiate trade deals, but because Trump tried, Bessent probably does have to point out that actually on this occasion, we let the negotiators handle most of the work. However, on that point of the threat of export controls being removed, unless the US has basically given China everything they've asked for, this seems unlikely. Why would China remove their number one point of leverage without getting something big from Trump? And what is it that China wants? Advanced chipsets, which could be used for high-tech military equipment, which the US does not want China to have. And for good reason. If Trump agrees anything that lets China have the chips, then the orange one will have messed up badly. Trade expert Dexter Roberts thinks that it is likely that both sides will want to call a truce on the tariffs, meaning that there shouldn't be an escalation. Obviously, we know that China got Trump to blink first on that months ago, even though it was Trump who initiated it. But despite China's calm and composed response and Trump flapping about like a wet hen, as experts keep pointing out, tariffs hurt both sides. China will absolutely have suffered as a result of this trade war. It's just that they can mask the pain more easily with less public scrutiny of economic data, but it doesn't stop them hurting. So we can probably safely dismiss any notion that Trump will impose the 100% extra tariffs he threatened recently. He will try to claim that his threat got China to back down, but unless he comes away with something America didn't have at the start of the year, it is just bluster. And even if he does come away with something that's an improvement on the start of 2025, there will still be the question of what China walks away with and if it was worth it. I mean, let's just break down what has happened with US-China trade this year. Trump thought he had massive leverage over China. He didn't. He failed to realise just how much leverage China has over the US. And this could only happen by not including trade experts in his planning. Given Trump's usual way of doing things, it's entirely possible that he didn't just ignore the experts, but didn't even invite them to his strategy meetings. It wouldn't surprise me if when Trump, Bessent, Lutnick, Vance and others were working on the scheme, none of them even thought about America's vulnerability on rare earth minerals. So they went ahead with a plan which fell at the first hurdle and then suddenly discovered that this is one area where America first doesn't work. Not that it works in a lot of other areas as well, but this is a definite no-no. They don't have much in terms of raw resources, almost nothing in terms of processing. Basically, the USA not only doesn't produce rare earths, but realistically can't. And yet the US economy depends upon importing huge quantities of them for their very lucrative tech industry. Basically, Trump effed about and found out. And China knows it. Ever since then, Trump has been trying to work out some way of finding a different path to victory, but he sacrificed his queen for a pawn and didn't even improve his board control. Now, Trump may get some moderate wins. He's made a big deal of the trade in fentanyl, and China exports quite a few of the components used in the production. China could easily agree to restrict those exports in return for a reduction in the tariffs Trump imposed. It would be no great skin off their nose. Trump would genuinely have something with which to parade to the American public. And fentanyl is causing a lot of harm to Americans. You've got tens of thousands of related deaths a year in the United States. Trump obviously cares very deeply about this and will presumably be doing something about the similar scale of gun-related deaths in America very soon. Won't be long now, I'm sure. Any day now. But although that would be a genuine win and a move that any government would be proud of, it won't shift the needle on America's economy, which was the main purpose for the tariffs in the first place. Trump called his big reveal Liberation Day, but he also called it Make America Rich Again Day, even though they were already the richest country in the world by some distance. But what will he announce that will make their trade increase? Restoring what he broke with food exports? That's not going to do it. What about China? They're already happy dealing with Trump, not just because he's shown himself to be inept, but because he doesn't bother them with talks about human rights and Taiwan's security. There's a sense in which even resetting to largely the same trade deal they had at the start of the year, but with human rights issues not being an impediment to trade, that alone could be a win for China. But Trump has been signing deals with other countries for rare earths that could reduce their reliance in years to come. That being said, China exerts more influence on trade with these South Asian and Australasian countries than the United States in many respects. And it will take years. China still maintains that stranglehold, even if it might not be forever. So whatever China do with this leverage now, they will want to use it well. But let me know what you think in the comments below. For more content, you could subscribe to the channel or even join for access to streams and behind the scenes updates. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.